Alright, so a couple of years ago, I posted my review on Velma. Yes, that Velma. And I said something in that video that triggered some comments. By some comments, I mean like hundreds of comments. I said that Scooby Doo shows never really had a deep or complex story. I was essentially trying to say that the plots are usually pretty simple, and somehow this Velma show made it annoying. So that quote caused all of the comments saying that Mystery Incorporated had a deep and complex story, and that I should check it out. By the way, Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated came out in 2010 and it had 2 seasons. And so yeah, I've never seen it, so my bad to those comments, and to this furry, I'm sorry, Wolfie. So after all of these years, why did I finally get around to watching Mystery Incorporated? You guessed it, because I had a tonsillectomy. The doctors were like, yo, your tonsils are big and we're gonna rip them out. And I was like, yes, doctor. And then they charged me $8,000. And at that moment, I realized maybe Mario was the inferior brother. And after the surgery, I posted the classic hospital photo on my Instagram story for attention, but only men replied. Anyways, when I got home from the hospital, I turned on Scooby Doo, Where Are You? AKA the original show. But I was laying there and I was like, you know what? I might as well try something new out. I might as well try out Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated since everyone was hyping it up. I'm gonna do it for Wolfie and the furry community. So I finally decided to binge the show, and I surprisingly have a lot to say about it. And by a lot, I mean a lot of positive things, but sadly some negative things. First of all, what separates the show from the other Scooby-Doo shows is that it's not an anthology. Every episode has a small mystery that gets solved, but there's also an overarching plot going on throughout all of the episodes. And that has to do with someone watching the mystery gang from afar. This person calls himself Mr. E, pun definitely intended, and Mr. E is sending the gang mysterious letters. Everything is tied to Crystal Cove, the town that the gang lives in. Crystal Cove is believed to have a powerful evil entity, or perhaps a treasure hiding within the town. There's more to Crystal Cove beneath the surface. And that's cool. I love how Crystal Cove is like a character of its own. It gets you more engaged on what's actually happening in the town, and it keeps you on your toes while you're watching. With a kid on the way in 3. Another thing I love about the show is that there's actually reoccurring characters. Sometimes the culprits of the small mysteries they've done come back in the show and hold a grudge against the gang or have something to do with the overarching plot. It makes Crystal Cove feel like a community. Like by the end of season 1, you feel like you know 20 people in the town. It's a cool feeling to see a character that was in the show 10 episodes ago come back, because you're like, hey, it's that guy. Now, I haven't seen every single Scooby-Doo show start to finish, but from what I've seen, there's a lot more established characters in this show outside of the Mystery Gang versus other shows. You got Angel Dynamite, Mr. E, Hot Dog Water. Yeah, I'll get to that later. The Mayor, and Sheriff Bronson Stone. And by the way, Sheriff Bronson is played by Patrick Warburton, and he goes full Warburton here.
Lying about there being corn in your cornbread stuffing. That's what we in the sheriffing world call fraud. The aliens need my brain. They're gonna steal my brain!
Must not be very complicated plans.
But yeah, the voice casting in this show is perfect, as well as the character design. Especially Angel's design, because she looks looks really cool all the time. No, but for real, I can't praise the show enough for looking and feeling like a Scooby-Doo show. The minimal background style is done so well here, and I love how the gang is still recognizable. They didn't try to fix something that wasn't broken. Another thing the show really gets right is the comedy. I think the reason why I actually finished all the 52 episodes of this show is because it's not written just for kids. And I don't mean that in a way of, there's sexual innuendos here. No, I mean there's some clever lines and good dumb humor.
Zoinks! Like it looks like the article comes with the soundtrack.
It's not working!
Aren't you gonna tell us a story?
Yes, the end. Scooby, Velma, put Shaggy on. Because you're almost impossible to understand on a phone.
But you've got a job as a teacher. Why do you need more money?
Oh.
So I told you the reason why I watched this show was because I was wanting to put something on during my surgery recovery. But I didn't tell you the reason why I made this video. So the reason why I made this video was because none other than When I was laying in my bed recovering from surgery and I saw Scooby Doo walk into the red room, I was tripping balls. And it was not the oxycodone that I was prescribed. By the way, if you've never seen Twin Peaks, the Red Room actually plays a big part in that show. It's like this surreal dream world location. It's a lot to explain. If you know me, you know my two cozy shows are Scooby Doo, Where Are You? And Twin Peaks. And for those two worlds to collide, it saved me. I have a poster of Twin Peaks in my living room, and I have a Twin Peaks tattoo. Sick. It's insane to me how the Red Room and the Dwarf isn't just a quick reference. The Red Room and the Dwarf are in multiple episodes and have to do with the main plot. Like initially I was like, oh, is this a sign I should do a video? This seems way too good to be true. Then I was like, nah, it's just like a 1 episode deal, whatever. But then this motherfucker had dialogue.
Welcome to the sitting room, Scooby Doo.
This is literally him in the show. This is the character from Twin Peaks. Scooby Doo and Twin Peaks are in the same universe. Okay, so those are the main positives I give the show. I'll get into some more positives later. However, we need to talk about some of the negatives that this show unfortunately has. There are 3 big issues I have with this show: Fred, Velma, and the team dynamic. Alright, let's get Fred out of the way since his problems mainly tied to season 1. Freddy in season 1 is simply way too dumb. I'm assuming the writers were thinking, hey, let's make Fred really stupid, but when it comes to making traps to catch the bad guys, we're gonna make him a genius. Now, that's not a bad idea, and it's not a bad bit, but the amount of times they do this bit where someone says something to Fred and he completely misinterprets it it's like 5 times an episode. It's way too much. They punch it hard into the ground in season 1. Here's a few examples.
I wouldn't let anything happen to you.
You wouldn't, Fred?
I wouldn't let anything happen to any of my pals. You're all the same in my eyes.
I mean, why did Fred drag us along on this date if he wasn't gonna feed us?
You invited them along?
We're all friends, right? And friends hang together, right?
Freddie, did you notice my outfit?
I don't even understand that question.
It's not like every time it's unfunny necessarily, it's the amount of times they do the bit. Just know I mainly only have a problem with Fred in season 1. His character really picks up in the last few episodes of season 1, and I'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, now we talk about Velma. I'm shocked to say Velma is the least likable of the group. It's not like she's horrible, but they really did miss the mark here. For half of season 1, she's trying to date Shaggy, but Shaggy keeps goofing off with Scooby and she throws a fit all the time. It's really weird because it's like, why are you surprised that Shaggy is like this? The group knows each other pretty well, or do they? No, but Velma, for a majority of the show, is just kind of complaining about stuff. She still has the brains that the group needs to solve mysteries, which is great, but outside of mystery solving, she's kind of just there. However, there's a slight silver lining. Velma's best side of her comes out when she teams up with Hot Dog Water. The fact that Velma's chemistry with a new character is better than her chemistry with the mystery gang is really weird. Speaking of Hot Dog Water, now if you haven't seen the show, you're like, what kind of name is that? And if you have seen the show, you're like, what kind of name is that? I assume it was an inside joke between the writers and they just fully committed to putting that name on someone in the show. So yeah, we got Hot Dog Water. By the way, I could have sworn Hot Dog Water was like a pretty popular saying in like 2018 or something. So the writers here were actually really ahead of the curve. Or am I making that up? I swear the dog water thing was popular. Anyways, Hot Dog Water was introduced in season 1 as a weirdo. But a few episodes later, she's actually the villain of an episode. She was terrorizing an amusement park for it to go out of business, blah, 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 blah. The interesting thing I'm trying to get to is that we learn her real name is Marcy. She is nicknamed Hot Dog Water because she and her father bathe in recycled water from boiling the theme park's hot dog water to save money. Oh, now it makes sense. But guys, this is what I meant about reoccurring characters. It was really fun to see Hot Dog Water be the culprit for an episode. Also, in that episode, we learned that she's like a tech genius, so then Mr. E ends up having her work for him. See, you see how the show makes the dynamics interesting? Only if they make the main dynamic interesting. For some reason, the writers made the gang split into smaller dynamics. In both seasons, it's like Daphne only interacts with Fred and no one else. Like 80% of Daphne's dialogue is to Fred in this show, And so Daphne and Fred talk amongst each other almost exclusively. Then you got the weird love triangle dynamic in season 1 where Velma is fighting for Shaggy's attention over Scoob, and this goes on for way too long. It sounds like maybe like a little fun goofy thing for a few episodes, but it's like 16 episodes. Then she finally comes to the realization that Shaggy and Scoob's bond will forever be stronger than any romantic bond that they could possibly have. So after that happens, Velma then feels isolated from the group, because you got Fred and Daphne being a couple, and you got Shaggy and Scooby being best friends, and now Velma is just kind of there. They still team up for mysteries and all that, but we never really get scenes with the entire gang having a blast together outside of solving mysteries. I didn't get the classic mystery gang dynamic here as much as I got from other Scooby Doo media, and it's a shame because the writing in the show is really damn good most of the time, but they overlooked the gang as a friend group itself. Okay, I know that I said I have 3 main problems, but I actually want to throw in a 4th. So while editing this video, I realized that I also wasn't a huge fan on a lot of the villain designs. Like, a lot of the monsters in the show are just kind of like mutated animal looking things or a mutated looking human. Like, if you look back at Scooby Doo Where Are You, you got some cool designs. Like, look at the Phantom Shadows. Those guys look sick. Also, Captain Cutler is a classic. The Creeper's a classic. Like, they're so memorable and they're so stylized, and I feel like Mystery Incorporated kind of just made everything feel a little like normal. Anyways, I'm sorry for lying that I said there was only going to be 3 problems, but I actually thought of 4. Forgive me. So when are you going to talk about him? About who? The talking dog. Bro, why don't you have pants on? Why don't you have pants on? Bro, how the fuck? Guys, I love Scooby Doo in this show. This is the funniest I remember Scooby being in any Scooby media.
I wouldn't exactly describe myself as big or fat or insecure. Why aren't you two supportively agreeing with me?
Oh, sorry. You're awesome.
Not only is Scooby written well, but so is Shaggy. He's exactly who you want Shaggy to be, just a guy who loves goofing off with his dog and eating food. These motherfuckers are always eating, and if they're not eating, they're thinking of eating. This is the best dynamic in the show. It stays true to the original show, but also adds some more humor on it. Yeah, I can't complain here. Well, now that I've covered the Mystery Gang, we need to talk about none other than the theme song. Does it hold up to the greats like What's New Scooby Doo and Scooby Doo Where Are You? No. Look, it's not necessarily bad, it's just fine. It doesn't have the sauce. The visuals for the intro are also not nearly as memorable as the others. In What's New Scooby Doo, you got the gang running from monsters, Shaggy and Scoob doing goofy stuff, and cool transitions, but Mystery Incorporated kind of just does the whole name card next to the character trope. Oh, that's Scooby-Doo. So I know earlier I said some negative things, especially about Fred and Velma. However, the last few episodes of season 1 make Fred a much better character due to his daddy issues. I'm not gonna go too much into this because I know some people watching this video have never seen the show, and I want them to experience it themselves. Also, something big happens at the end of season 1 that causes the gang to split up. Then we get to the greatest and also the final season of the show, Season 2. Season 2 pretty much fixes all of the problems I had with the show. It even fixes Velma. Velma ends up teaming up with Hot Dog Water during the group split up, and it's implied that they got a little something going on. Finally, Velma has a healthy dynamic with someone. Look, I know I've spoiled some things in this review, but I promise I haven't given away the best stuff. There are a few characters I haven't even mentioned so you guys can experience them for yourself. But for those of you that have watched this show, please do not attack me for this decision. Before I say what I'm about to say, this is who you're gonna be mad at. That's me holding Scooby-Doo Loch Ness Monster movie when I was like 8. Okay, so I decided not to do a full review of Season 2, at least in this video, because I believe Season 2 is so good that I don't even want to talk about a little bit of it for the people that have never watched the show. I want them to go in as raw as possible. Pause. No, but for real, Mystery Incorporated Season 2 is the perfect Scooby Doo season. The humor is better, the stakes, just everything is greatly improved on. However, a lot of the comments in that video, on the Velma video from years ago, said that it's like deep and complex, and so I wouldn't get your hopes a little too high for like deep necessarily. Don't get me wrong, it's deeper than what you'd expect from a Scooby Doo show, but you're not gonna be in here like I would say it leans definitely more on it's pretty complex. Guys, I needed this show in my life at the time that I found it. Usually when I'm sick, I don't really like watching things that are new because I don't want to like associate that with my like sick days. That's why I usually resort to watching Scooby Doo Where Are You or Twin Peaks as my cozy shows. But for me to be going through that painful ass recovery and still enjoy this Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated show I needed that. It made the recovery easier, it made it more fun. Like I said, I wasn't even planning on doing a video on this until like a week after it ended, and I just couldn't stop thinking about how Twin Peaks and Scooby Doo like crossed into each other's world. Like, what was that all about? By the way, shout out that episode where I'm assuming they did like the classic 2D and also shot it in film or something. I don't know, but shout out that episode that literally looks like the old episodes back in the day, and all the cameos in that episode. Dude, I had a big ass smile on my face. Also a big ass. But I had a big ass smile on my face throughout that entire episode. It was nice for them to like do that episode and have it feel super nostalgic. Man, this was just a great time. This is honestly just a great show. It saved me from my painful ass recovery, as well as the oxys that really helped as well. Guys, I'm giving Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated an 8 out of 10. That's crazy. That's a crazy score for a Scooby Doo show, but man, I'm telling you, go watch this show. I know it says some negatives, but there's constant positives happening in every episode, so it's not like the first 15 episodes are like miserable. Like, I promise it's worth getting through, and it's easy to get through. It's a cozy cartoon. It's like 20 minutes long per episode. For real, thank you for watching this video. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new as well, and maybe give me some video ideas. You know, maybe should I check something else out? I don't know what's going on. What's going on out there? The video's gonna end now.